How funny would it be if I shaved a like button down there? That'd be hilarious. Oh, I didn't see there, sorry. I was having a little bit of a read. Today's video is proudly sponsored by Manscaped, the world's leader in down there grooming and creator of precision engineered tools for your family jewels. And speaking of tools, ladies and gentlemen, the Performance Package 4.0 is an absolute game changer. Just let me take some time to run through what you're going to get in that package. And I'm not talking about my package, I'm talking about the package. First off, ladies and gentlemen, the Lawnmower 4.0, the future of grooming, and dare I say, the best ball shaver ever. Now boys, how many times have you tried to fix up down there and it's ended up like a scene straight out of a horror film? Never fear, the Lawnmower is here. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. It's waterproof and also has a 400K LED spotlight to help you get a more precise shave. And because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to leaving a dirty mess on your bathroom floor. Even comes with a portable charger powered by USB cable so you can keep the motor running wherever you go. Now, mowing the garden is all fine and dandy, but if you want to maintain the garden a little bit better, sometimes you need to get in for those fine edges, and ladies and gentlemen, Manscaped have you covered with the Weed Whacker. The Weed Whacker is a nose and ear hair trimmer. It's waterproof and also provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps reduce nicks, snags and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Not only that, but their Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Now, Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to the Performance Package 4.0, the first of which is their Shed Travel Bag. A beautiful leather bag that fits all your goodies, all your knickknacks, and it helps you take all your Manscaped goodies wherever you go, on the go. And maybe the best of all, especially for myself and all the other plus-size men out there, the Manscaped boxes. These are a game changer, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a big man like myself and chafing is a little bit of something you have to deal with, these anti-chafing briefs are so good, and they just, it feels like a warm blanket. It is just so good. It even smells fresh. It smells fresh, ladies and gentlemen. I'm being serious. You tuck your bad boys away in these, and they'll be thanking you for a lifetime. Whatever the occasion, it is time for you to start taking care of yourself. Head on over to manscaped.com and use the discount code ZIRRA when checking out for 20% off your order plus free international shipping. That's manscaped.com with the discount code ZIRRA, ZIRRA, for 20% off and free international shipping. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. What is going on, YouTube universe? This is ArghGodzirra. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me for another AFL tips, predictions and discussion video. In this episode, we look ahead to round 14 and discuss what we think is going to go down. We reflect on round 13 and have a look at what went down. But before we get started, as always, if you look in the description of this video, you'll find a link. If you click it, it'll take you to this website. Free to play, free to sign up, doesn't cost you a cent, so why wouldn't you get on board and join my tipping competition? We are over halfway through the season. Doesn't mean you can't get involved and jump on board. I am thankful for everyone who has this year, even though we are down on numbers from last season. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I sincerely want to thank every single one of you for coming out and supporting these videos throughout the year. Now that we've got that out of the way, time to reflect on my tips from round 13. Kicking off with Thursday night football, and I'm glad Thursday night football is back. We had Richmond take on Port Adelaide at the MCG. I tipped Richmond by 19. Richmond got up by 12. It was a great game to watch. Umpiring again, I feel, ruined another great game of football. Some very contentious calls on both sides of the spectrum, especially with holding the ball. Juddy Clark made his debut for Richmond. First 2 kicks, first 2 AFL goals. I love what this kid brings to the mix, and he has made selection again for this coming week. So hopefully he can carry that momentum forward and show that he is possibly an X factor that we've been missing in our forward line, and that he can bring something to the table for us on a weekly basis. Port Adelaide had a very controversial moment at the end of the game with Zach Butters and Tom Jonas clashing heads accidentally. Both were busted open. Tom Jonas just above the eye and Butters just under the eye on the cheek. And neither of them underwent a concussion test because their doctor deemed that they didn't need that concussion test. Now, bear with me for a moment, because I understand not every head clash needs to be concussion tested, nor do all head clashes lead to concussions. The same as being split open on the head doesn't mean you were concussed. But I digress. If Butters had made contact bad enough to split his cheek wide open and it was pissing out blood a lot, not to mention the diagnosis after the game that he has a fractured cheekbone, then would you not think that a concussion test would be warranted considering the severity of his injury? That's all I'm asking. The AFL have given him the clear. They're not in trouble. I personally felt they should have gone under the concussion test, even if they had passed it, but there was only like 5 minutes left in the game, so a lot of people are questioning whether, if this head clash had gone down at the start of the game, whether they would have been concussion tested, because the game wasn't on the line as big as it was in those dying moments of the game. But we move on. Friday night, MCG, Essendon took on Carlton. We backed Carlton to get the job done, and despite Dyson Heppel trying to rally the crowd at the start of the game and rally the troops, Carlton got it done quite comfortably. And again, Essendon looking like just whenever they rock up, they're going to let the opposition roll all over the top of them. I don't know what else to say. Darcy Parish went down with an injury. I'm not sure how long he's going to be sidelined for, but considering he's been Essendon's best player all year, we could start seeing some blowout games if Darcy Parish is on the pine for a little bit. We then go to Optus Stadium, Fremantle taking on Hawthorn, and this was a closer game than I thought it would be. It ended up being 13 points the way of Fremantle, and for the most part, Hawthorn was actually leading the game early, and it looked like they were going to head to a blowout lead at one point. They just kept coming and coming and coming, and for every one goal Fremantle would kick, Hawthorn would then get a couple back. But Fremantle rallying, getting the job done at Nat Fyfe's first game back. It kind of impacted the influence of some midfielders like Will Brodie, but Fyfe predominantly playing up forward now gives Fremantle a viable target, and I feel only makes them a bigger threat moving forward, especially when it comes to September action for finals. At the Gabba, we backed Brisbane to get over St Kilda, and that did go down. I did say that I thought St Kilda's speed could worry Brisbane, and for a little bit of the game it did. However, 21 points the way of Brisbane, comfortable enough lead. They still show that when it comes to the Gabba, they dominate that ground. And as of now, because of other outcomes that went down in this week, or last week rather, Brisbane now sit on top of the ladder in first place. We backed GWS to beat North Melbourne, and GWS did it quite emphatically, to the point where every time GWS touched the ball, it looked like they were a premiership team. They would just turn over the ball from North Melbourne, handball, 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 easy goal. Chip kick, chip kick, chip kick, easy goal. I'd hate to be somebody named Rockstar Pool 69, and I'd hate to be Rockstar Pool 69 right now, because that bloke went and put his certainty on North Melbourne. But I'm not going to rib him much. We'll move on to the final game, where Melbourne got a ribbing by Collingwood. Collingwood getting over the top by 26 points. Who saw this coming? I did mention that I thought Stephen May out of the back line, and if you go check last week's video, as I give the back of my head a little bit of a scratch, you will see that I said that if Stephen May didn't play this game, it would give opportunity for players like Mason Cox and Brody Myercheck to get off the chain. Brody Myercheck goes out and kicks a big bag. Mason Cox just misses out on being the recipient of best on ground and ended up having a career-high 21 touches, which is pretty big for Mason Cox because he can barely maybe get 2 or 3 touches in a game, let alone 21. This is now 3 games in a row that Melbourne have dropped, and it might be getting a little bit worse for Melbourne. They've got the bye this week, but it has been confirmed that Max Gawn, their captain, will be out for 4 to 6 weeks with syndesmosis, and syndesmosis can always worsen while healing, so it's 4 to 6 minimum. That now means Luke Jackson has to ruck on his own, and this is where I think Melbourne are now going to start to struggle, because instead of giving Jackson opportunity to be a primary ruckman, which is what Melbourne should be doing, they've been playing Max Gawn predominantly in the ruck with Jackson coming in to just pinch hit. Now you've got this young kid having to carry the weight on his back. You're now taking Max Gawn out of the equation when it comes to intercept ball down the line, which is what he prides his game on. You've now got that long-range booming kick out of the forward line. You've now got a strong marking contest out of the forward line, and he's been chopping up opponent defences. So you take Gawn out, you still don't know what the status of Stephen May is, and all of a sudden you now have a really shaky month and a half coming up for Melbourne, to the point where I did a ladder predictor just as a little bit of fun, and I've got Melbourne potentially finishing as low as 7th or 8th spot. That is huge, considering 3 weeks ago they hadn't lost a game. But that was my tips for the round. The only blemish was Collingwood defeating Melbourne with myself backing Melbourne. There were a few, however, that got 6 out of 6 backing Collingwood to win. Starting with 390 Courtney Kay. Of course she did. She's been dominating this league all season. Macca 0303. Christian Sciore, I hope I said that right. 123. Gramercy Riffs 78. Love the name, by the way. Pommy Tiger. Magpie Army 2016. And Dougie all got 6 out of 6. So congratulations to you all for maxing out this week's amount of tips. Now when we look at the total tips, it's no surprise that Courtney is still leading by 3 with 82 overall. We've got Kirk still nipping at the heels on 79, with some Cripple and Saintly 12 on 78, still well in the hunt. Tritter, hi to you too. Durable Lamb 6 on 77. And then CWA, Welsh Duke, myself, Rockstar Pool on 76 with some on 75. A lot of 74s and 73s. But it looks like Courtney's going to start galloping away with a lead, and I don't know whether she's going to be able to get chased down. Very impressive, Courtney. I am very impressed. Congratulations yet again for holding it down for another round. But speaking of another round, it's time to look at round 14, of which is the final bye round of the season. We open up again with Thursday night football at the MCG, Richmond taking on Carlton. Let's not forget I was at that game round 1 with my son, and having to endure the crowd on the way out. As I said, it wasn't a fun time, but Richmond coughed up a 30-point lead in that game, and Carlton stormed home with an emphatic win to kick off the season. They now sit 4th on the ladder compared to Richmond's 9th, and I hate having to endure those fucking Richmond's 9th jokes because I've done it all season. But Richmond go into this game as favourite, and I am going to back Richmond, and I'm going to do it by 16 points. Yes, I know I've got to select a team with the margin. I'm going Richmond by 16. There is method to my madness. Adam Cerra out of the midfield I think is huge, because his input this season has been pretty solid. But the big out for me is Jacob Wiedering from Carlton's defence still missing, and Tom Lynch now coming back into the mix. That now means there is a premier forward coming in, and before Tom Lynch's injury, he was leading the competition in contested marks inside forward 50, as well as being second on the ladder for the Coleman. You're now taking Jacob Wiedering out of that defence of Carlton, who is one of the best one-on-one defenders in the competition, in my eyes anyway, And this now gives Lynch the opportunity to stand up and make a big impact. No Dustin Martin this week for Richmond. He is out ill. And Richmond have dropped Ivan Soldo. So they are going with Toby Nankervis as a solo ruck, which I think is okay because Carlton don't have their main ruckman in the mix anyway. So Nankervis should dominate that ruck line. Sam Durden comes in for Carlton, ex-North Melbourne player, drafted in the mid-season draft, with Caleb Marchbank getting injured, which is terrible. It was his first game since 2019, and he ends up injuring himself. I think it was a medial ligament tear, I think. And now Sam Durden comes in and gets his chance. Carlton's midfield got off the chain round one. That was with Dustin Martin in the team. I don't think Dustin Martin out of the team is going to impact Richmond much because Dusty hasn't really been himself this season. He hasn't been giving us the same output he normally would. I feel other players this year have really lifted their game to a new level. I think with Dion Prestia rolling as well as he is, with Kane Lambert now coming through, with Tom Lynch back in the mix, with Juddy Clark now giving us something in the forward line, with our defensive structure now as solid as it's been all season, I give Richmond every chance to win this game. Friday night at Marvel Stadium, we have St Kilda taking on Essendon. I am backing St Kilda. They play incredibly well at Marvel. They held their own against Brisbane, even though they went down to Brisbane last week. And I don't give Essendon a chance in this game at all. I mean, there are always room for upsets, and this could be an upset game. There's always that possibility. But St Kilda have been playing too good of a brand of football to drop a game to Essendon. And if Darcy Parish, as I mentioned earlier, is missing from Essendon's midfield, then St Kilda's midfield are going to run rampant on the back of players like Jack Sinclair, Seb Ross, Gresham, those type of players all running through. And with Dan Butler and Jack Higgins now back in, firing in that forward line, St Kilda could do big damage and get a quite healthy percentage boost, which is going to go a long way this season, especially at the moment when, as you look at the ladder, 5th place to 9th place currently, I feel is all going to come down to percentage. So St Kilda for me. Saturday kicks off at Adelaide Oval with Port Adelaide taking on Sydney. I am going to back Sydney. Port Adelaide showed a lot against Richmond last week. I'm not discrediting what Port Adelaide showed, but I think when you compare the two, especially on paper, Sydney has the better team, for me anyway, especially when it comes to the youth and especially when it comes through the midfield. They're a lot more consistent than what Port Adelaide are. I feel if Sam Hayes doesn't come back into this lineup this week, because we obviously don't have team lineups yet apart from the Richmond Carlton game. If Port Adelaide have to roll with only Jeremy Finlayson and Charlie Dixon chopping out from the forward line to the ruck, and you've got Peter Laddams and potentially Tom Hickey if he comes into the team, they'll dominate that midfield game. And I think with the McCartan brothers rolling as well as they are, with Lance Franklin starting to find a little bit of form, I give Sydney every chance to go down to Adelaide and knock Port Adelaide off. Later Saturday afternoon, West Coast takes on Geelong. And Geelong are going to win this, and if Geelong don't win this by 10 goals, there is something wrong. Jeremy Cameron, he'll kick 5 or 6 goals. Tom Hawkins, he'll kick about 4 or 5 goals. This has to be a big win for them. It has to be, surely. Even though it is up at West Coast, and I pride myself usually on saying don't tip against West Coast in West Coast, we've seen this year this is a completely different ball game for West Coast, and they're not the same unit that we're used to seeing, and you can blame that on whatever you want, but I think they're starting to lose that once, you know, that aura they once had of being untouchable when you went to their ground, and Geelong are going to prove that when they go up there and knock the living fuck out of them. And Saturday rounds out at Giant Stadium with GWS taking on the Western Bulldogs, and I have been racking my brain around this game all day. I've been trying to work out who I'm going to back. Bailey Smith obviously serving the first of his 2-week suspension for the headbutting incident against Zach Tui in the Geelong game, serving a further 2 weeks for the footage that has now been released from apparently last year's grand final, where he got on the bags and did a bit of cocaine in his spare time. I've got a lot of opinions about this because I've seen a lot of videos, especially from Bailey Smith, posted on his socials as early as last week out at the clubs, absolutely off his face. So, to me, playing the mental health game and blaming, cocaine usage and having a party boy mindset on depression is a fucking cop-out and a slap in the face to people that really do battle with mental health. He could be depressed, but I'm severely depressed as well, and I don't sit here at home going, fuck, I'm going to get on the bags and have a good time. So, they miss him on the outside for the next month, and he's been influential for the Bulldogs on that wing. It now means players like McRae, Bontempelli, Liberatore, they're going to have to lift their game to kind of cover that spot, because I think Bailey Smith is very irreplaceable, especially when you look at the calibre of the players underneath that tier. They're second tier players. I don't think there's any of them that can step up to that level. And then GWS last week, coming off the back of a huge win against North, just looked very impressive around the ground. If Braden Pruce comes back in, it'll be huge in the way of GWS's way. But without Braden Pruce, you've got Tim English for the Bulldogs that can get off the chain. It's a real 50-50 flip here. I'm going to back GWS only because it's at Giant Stadium, and I do this knowing that they have dropped games at Giant Stadium this year. I just feel Bailey Smith's omission from this team is going to be a lot more prominent than what people are backing. And final game of the round sees Gold Coast hosting Adelaide up at Metricon Stadium, and I am backing the Gold Coast, and that is something that I have done more times this year than I thought I would. But when they're firing, they look the goods, and they're still well in contention for potentially a top 8 finish if they can get the job done here against Adelaide. If they drop this game, it puts them behind by 2 games at least, and it makes it very hard to chase from there. So if they want to keep finals chances alive at this point of the season, this is a must-win game for the Suns. So recapping, I'm going with Richmond, St Kilda, Sydney, Geelong, GWS and the Gold Coast. The only possible change I will make is between the GWS Bulldogs game. When I see the lineup come out, I might swap to the Bulldogs, but I'm comfortable enough to leave this decision as is. Hopefully 6 out of 6 this week. I'm confident. And hopefully Richmond can kick it off with a big win against Carlton, the win that they should have had in round 1. Thank you for joining me for another episode. I hugely appreciate, as I said earlier, the fact that you guys have been coming out to support this line of videos. If there is any other type of AFL content you would like to see, let me know in the comment section down below. Do leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new to these parts of YouTube, because it does go a long way to supporting myself. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.